Well, hey friends, welcome back. The van has been hard at work. Last time you saw her, we were working with a lot of shade containers, a lot of hot colors, really fun and vibrant. And this time I have a very different color palette for you. It is soft, it is floral, it's yummy, it's pinks and whites and purples and a little bit more delicate. What we're gonna do is I'm going to gather up some goodies and I'm gonna walk you through how I create with all of these gorgeous colors. Come on over. So I thought I might start off with one of the most simple of containers. And for this little exercise, I have a beautiful square container pulled up here because I know a lot of you had square containers that you were curious about. And I just have it pre-planted with a columnar boxwood. It's a Monrovia green tower. I believe it's a green tower. Yes, Monrovia green tower boxwood, not gifted. I purchase them all the time. So let's start off with just a really sweet little collection. The first one we're going to do is something for that deepest shade moment. So for that, I'm going to use some grassy texture. We've got our Hakanakloa back here. Bring that up. This is Hakanakloa areola. It is the Hakanakloa that has that beautiful light green with a deeper green kind of stripe down it. The next thing I'm going to use is a heucherella. So it's not a heuchera, it's a heucherella. And this is one called Pink Fizz. Not only does it have this beautiful leaf shape with a really nice, deep kind of almost a purpley moment right here in the middle, it sends up these spires of barely there pink blooms. Even the stem has a little bit of pink to it. And each bloom has kind of a little bit of a star shape on it. I am going to pair this with a myriad of impatiens. And when I am doing deep shade, sometimes what I like to do is I like to mix together 3 different impatiens for just some nice vibrancy in the garden. This first one, this is Beacon Violet. It has a slightly blue undertone, just really beautiful. This next one is Beacon Lipstick. And what I love about this is you get the blue of this violet with kind of another mid-tone pink, and it has similar undertones to the light pink of the heucherella. And then to keep it fresh, I bring in our classic Beacon White, just a very pure white, very lovely, very fresh. Oh, and then last but not least, we have our trailer moment. You guys have seen this time and time again. She's a rock star. I go through, oh my gosh, 50, maybe even more of these every single season. This is Creeping Jenny, also known as Lismachia, and this variety is called Goldilocks. And, let me show you one other thing that's kind of in the impatiens family. This is an impatiens that you don't see very frequently. And I wanted to show this to you because I think it's really fun to show you different things to broaden your perspective. And this would be a good substitute for all of the rest of those impatiens if you wanted to go really subtle. This one is a double impatiens. Look at that. They are stunning. They are little tiny rosettes. They literally look like baby roses. This variety is called Apple Blossom, and actually it reminds me of the Cecil Brunner that is blooming in my neighbor's yard behind me. You can smell a Cecil Brunner rose from 30 feet away. It's fantastic. So now let's take these goodies and apply them into the container I have already set up for us. All right, so for this first container, we're going really simple with a lot of powerful impact. So what I love to do when I've got just kind of more of a static piece in the middle, I immediately, first course of action, I want to bring in texture. So I've got some beautiful texture over here with the grass, and then I'm bringing in the heucherella on the left here to form the basis of our container design. These basically constitute like a really strong mid layer. The next thing I like to do is when we're working with our trio of plants, I like to bring in a round robin. So I may do a little bit of this deep violet in the middle, some of this lipstick on this other side. I might bring in a little bit of this white back here, maybe a little bit more violet here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to break this up. I'm going to do a little bit of violet there. I'm going to do some purple back here. I think I'm going to do maybe a little bit. Oh, yeah. Yeah. A little bit of that here. And I'm going to let this kind of trail over the back. That is super fresh. Okay, so we have violet, violet, pink, white, white. So again, if you guys take a look at how I plant these, I'm planting in a lot of X shapes, right? So I've got X here, X here. This forms a nice little triangle. This is kind of the basis for like container geometry. The next thing I'm gonna do is I will actually bring a trailer out the front. And I love to use a bright trailer down here because it really pulls in the chartreuse here. It's a nice pop and it acts as a little bit of a highlighter for some of these deeper midtones. If you really wanted to go for it, you could actually bring in another trailer on this side and another trailer on this side. This would give a lot of really nice balance and a full skirt to this container. Do I think you need it? I actually don't, but I just wanted to give you an example of a different way you could spin it. So there we are, beautiful, beautiful garden tones. For this next arrangement, I want to introduce you to this lovely begonia. This is called a ragar begonia. Specifically, this is a begonia called Clara. And ragar begonias are really incredible. They're very upright. All of their blooms open upright. And this one is a white with just a hair of an undertone of light green. It is beautiful, and you get just these big glossy leaves. So we are going to be featuring this gorgeous little plant. The next element that we are going to bring in is a coleus. This is a coleus called Happy Line. This one actually can stand sun to shade, so it's a very flexible variety. And this is simply the only one I had on hand. I zipped through about 80 coleus this week, but this one, as always, you're going to notice my centerpiece is a straight leaf. My ragar begonia is a straight leaf, single color. And so I need to bring in something variegated to break all that up. So this is what I'm going to use. And honestly, any coleus that is shade tolerant will do. And there's about 800 out there. And I mean, my goodness, you can take, with a coleus, you can take it from traditional to rock and roll in about 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to show you one last thing. I may use this, I may not, but this is a very, very fun textural bit. This adds a really like frothy and sparkly element to any shade container. This is an asparagus fern called Fuzzy Fern Frizz, which is like the ultimate of tongue twister. Sometimes plant names are so dorky, but this is just a lovely, like I said, this is your frothy texture. This is going to offer you just a little bit more funkiness, a little bit more spiciness to your arrangement. And so I may work in this as well. All right, when I'm doing this, I have a couple of different options, but I like to start with a nice triangle shape with all of my arrangements. Well, most all of them. This one is going to be no exception. I'm bringing in a really strong triangle shape of this coleus. This coleus is going to be about 10 by 10, maybe 12 by 12. Let me just double check here. Yeah, it can actually get a little bit bigger, but so I'm going to go ahead and think that these are going to be about a foot square. Obviously, depending on the type of coleus you choose, it can go absolutely bananas and you could have a 3-foot coleus on your hands. Next, I'm going to bring in a layer of my ragar begonias, and these are going to be slightly smaller, so you can see I'm stair-stepping. So I've got my tall centerpiece, then I have my coleus moment, lastly I have my begonias. Now, if you were able to see this container from multiple sides, what I might do is I might even add a couple back here. That actually might be really, really fun. And then on this one, I actually might anchor it with Creeping Jenny on each corner. Almost, you know what actually I would do? I would do little triangles here. And so this will end up kind of matting together to form a singular moment coming down the front. Now, if you have a little bit more room to play with, I like to give you some options. This asparagus fern is actually going to get over 2 feet tall. And so do you see how when I add this in, now all of a sudden, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4 heights, we've brought in a 5th element, and now this becomes like a secondary centerpiece and adds another beautiful moment of like lots of great movement right here in the middle. So I wanted to give you, if you have a container that's a little bit bigger than this, and by the way, this is a 23-inch container. And so if you have 23 inches, I say go for it, especially if you have bigger. If you have up to 27, heck yeah, go for it. For the next arrangement, we're going to pretend that there is a little bit more sun for us to play with. Maybe it's getting some dappled morning sun. This first selection I'm going to show you, this is Alternathera. You saw this in an earlier video in a variety called Red Threads. This one is called Purple Prince, and it is a new fun collection. This is a new fun variety that I'm using this year in some of my arrangements. I'm just absolutely loving it. This is our next selection. This is what is called an ivy geranium. Now, you typically will see different zonal geraniums. You've got Americana series, you've got your Tango series. This is different. This is an ivy. An ivy will grow a little bit upright, but then will also trail beautifully. I also find that this is such a workhorse because I can put this in a variety of conditions and it will do well. So part sun, I've had it do really well. Hot afternoon sun, again, had it do very well. Full sun even. This thing is still cooking. Now, this one is one called Light Lavender, and in the middle, it's really kind of an interesting selection. It almost gets like a burgundy fleck to that middle that matches our Purple Prince. So we're gonna bring back in and we're gonna start with a mid-story. And I'm gonna select this coleus that we've used before. This is Happy Line because this gets about 1 foot tall, which is a really nice size for the container and the centerpiece that I'm using. The other thing I wanted to point out is you're seeing me reuse a lot of different elements because this is what will marry your containers together. So when you can have an element hop from one container to the next, it makes for a much more cohesive collection across your property. The next thing I want to bring in is I want to bring in, gosh, you know, I think I'm going to do, let me try a couple things here. This is where I like to play with a few things. Now I have an option of doing just 2. Actually, let me get one that's better matched for size. Okay, there's 2 of my Alternathera. And I think I want to go for a bigger floral moment. So check this out. What you're going to notice is that at first it was like, whoa, there was a lot of texture happening. But all of that texture allows this trailing geranium to just steal the show. This then becomes the singular moment for this beautiful container. Now, like I've said time and time again, if you can see this container from multiple sides, I might add a couple out the back here, but this is totally not necessary if you're up against the wall. The next thing I would bring in, so let me give you a couple different choices here. Now, a white lobelia is no new thing. You've seen me use Magadi White. This one is Techno White Improved. You can choose an upright or you can choose a trailing. I kind of like a trailing, but you can now tuck some of these white moments in these corners underneath this beautiful Alternathera. And now we are getting really full. This is really, really lovely. The other thing that you could do is instead of having an ivy geranium back there, I actually might choose this because she'll cascade a little bit. That's really beautiful. Actually, let me just put this little guy back here so we have some nice balance. Okay, we have some trailing options. We can bring in our classic down here. This is our Creeping Jenny. I like that it pulls a little bit of this chartreuse limey moment from up here. That's so beautiful. So this is option 1. However, you could also, if you were really going for your texture queen, you could also pop in this guy. And that is really stunning. So let me take this guy away. This makes it very green. So I'm not sure I like that. I think I like the pop in here. I think that actually kind of like pulls the whole thing together. So I still want to show you this. This is a Bacopa. However, this is a newer variety called megacopa. And the difference between bacopa and megacopa is you have a much bigger leaf and a much bigger bloom on it. Now, if I had my way, I would actually not put either of these in there. What I would put in is there is a golden bacopa, and I don't know what happened to it this year, but I haven't been able to get my hands on it. I'll see if I can insert a picture of it so you guys can see what it looks like. But golden bacopa is 100% what I would do here. You get a little white floral, you get the chartreuse foliage. It is stunning, and I love it in a part shade container. Ooh, that is a cute container. Eee! Now let's move into sun territory. We're going to start off with this gorgeous heliotrope. This is called Fragrant Delight, and this is a lovely, lovely mid-story element as long as you give it enough water. This really, really loves water. Here we have two white geraniums. Both are a great option. This is the Americana White. It has a little bit of a lighter leaf shape. This is going to get a wee bit bigger. This is the Tango White. It has a darker leaf color. It's going to stay a bit more on the petite side. Americanas I've seen get up to 2 feet, and these Tangos stay about half that size. Both are great options. This next selection is a petunia. This is actually a proven winner selection from my grower. It is called Priscilla. What's so funny is I actually have a friend named Priscilla who loves purple, so I feel like this one makes me smile. Last but not least, I am including this sweet potato vine. This one is blacky, has a really interesting leaf shape, does not trail as much as the traditional marguerite. Really beautiful though, and it comes out with kind of the newer leaves, a bit of a green. All right, we are going to start with a mid-story here of this heliotrope. I think it is so lovely. In fact, I'm kind of going to do 3. Whoa. Okay, let's see how that goes. Next, I am going to reach for my Americana Whites. This is the one with a bit of a lighter leaf. And so you can see when I put in an Americana with this darker green, let's give you an example. See how this is really similar? If you like more of a tonal look, the Tango's your jam. However, I think that bringing in the Americana with this lighter leaf provides a lot more contrast. Next, we have Priscilla. She is gorgeous. She is absolutely stunning. And I think I'm actually going to use several here. Oh yeah. Because I really want to see just a massive, massive trailing story going on everywhere. Alrighty, and just for a little extra white, I think it actually might be kind of fun to mix this up a little bit and add in a pop of white lobelia. I think that that keeps it really fresh. Of course, you can do without that. No big deal. This will definitely take over. But this, if you have a bigger container, this might be a fun addition. I just want to give that to you as an option. And then right out the front here is this dark sweet potato vine. That is really beautiful. And by the way, you're going to notice these Priscillas, they are going to take up this entire space. So you may be seeing a little bit of space here, a little bit of space here, but in about 30 seconds, that will not be the case. Now, should you feel like this is too dark, she's too moody, another option would be to bring in that marguerite. And actually, I kind of like that. This is the traditional sweet potato. Her name is Marguerite. And this one is fantastic in a really tall container, a really big container, because I have seen this trail an easy 2 to 3 feet, like in the blink of an eye. So there we go. This is another sun container for you. Now let's jump over to pink territory. I want to introduce a couple of really lovely players. First is one of my absolute favorites. This is an ivy geranium. in Ivy League white. It is so beautiful, and it gets kind of a raspberry tinge right at the throat there. So I can pair this with a lot of different things. In fact, I can actually pair this with a lot of strong blues and strong raspberries, just as well as I can play with the lighter, softer colors. Next, we have Calibrachoa. This is one of my favorite pink Calibrachoas. This one is called Mini Famous Neo Light Pink with Eye. And honestly, I think it's the depth of the raspberry on the inside that really does it for me. And then you even get the pop of that little yellow right down the throat. Just one of my I mean, honestly, I think this is my favorite pink Calibrachoa. All right, people, twinkly bit time. This is Euphorbia. This one is called Breathless White. They also have one called Breathless Blush that is so beautiful. Love that one. Use it all the time. This one, we're just going to go with the Breathless White because this is what I had on hand. All right, as per usual, I'm going to start with my mid-story. This is going to get about 10 to 15 inches high, so really nice way to split up this columnar boxwood. Now this one, as we've discussed, the habit of this guy is a little bit more trailing, right? So I'm not gonna, whenever you have a trailer, don't plant it directly on the edge. It's gonna naturally wanna spill out towards the sunshine. You wanna plant it back a little bit. That way it feels like everybody's in conversation. So when fully mature, this euphorbia is going to be maybe 2 to 4 inches taller than our geranium. All right, just for some nice symmetry, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck 2 more ivy geraniums off the back here. All right, we have a lot of white going on. It's time for those big shots of pink. Now, Calibrachoa is another really amazing trailer. And this is gonna marry all of our elements together. I don't know if you can see this, but this is just the perfect complement. Now, one thing I've been doing with a lot of my clients where I'm using this lovely combination is I am super digging on the way that our sweet potato blackie plays with this Calibrachoa. I think it is just so dramatic and so lovely. And one thing that I really like to do is I like to play with my trailers. So here I actually might do this. I might do Calibrachoa, Dichondra, blackie, and then maybe a Dichondra out this side. That can be very, very good. And then what I would do is I would add a blackie out this side. And what I'm doing here with my trailers is I am using them to break up all of these different greens. So as I go around, there's a lot of depth and a lot of interest. It also helps bring out this leaf detail on the ivy geranium. So here we are, another gorgeous sun container. And this time, not only do we have those beautiful fresh whites, but we are leaning super heavily into our beautiful pink Calibrachoa story, which is going to absolutely smother all edges of this container. All right, we are going to start the arrangement for this last one with this salvia. It is called Black and Bloom. Now, for the purposes of this container, I'm going to set it just in front of this boxwood. However, in reality, I would 86 this boxwood and I would have this be my full sun centerpiece. It is sensational. It is going to reach about, I would say, 2 to 3 feet high. So really, really good height, and equally as wide, and has the most sensational blooms. Hummingbirds love it. Really, really great. This next plant I'm going to bring in is a Scaevola. This is called Scampy White. It is a very, very good performer, and it gets these little tiny whirl white blooms and just absolutely cascades down the side of a container. To tie in the blue of the Black and Bloom salvia, I'm going to bring in this cutie. This is a lobelia called Rift Blue. I've used it in my containers on the patio, and you guys, this is my last one. I feel like I have to go get more because this has been really fun to play with. And it just adds just an extra little sparkle to an arrangement. One last trailer that I am pretty sure most of you have not seen. This is kind of a lesser known one. This is an interesting textural little bit. It is called Silene. This is the variegated Silene, and this variety is called Druitt's Variegated. And this is a beautiful, beautiful ornamental texture. It'll have a little tiny balloon flower on it. Really, really sweet and super unexpected. So as we discussed, we are going to pretend that I actually don't have this boxwood here, and instead this beautiful salvia is going to be my centerpiece. Next, I am going to bring in my ivy geraniums that we have used before. This is the Ivy League White. And the reason I'm choosing this over any of the other geraniums is because the raspberry fleck in the middle of this is the same strength to the blue of the salvia. Next, I'm actually going to put my trailer off the front just so I have this centerpiece in action. This trailer is very aggressive, and so it's going to create just a beautiful mound coming off of the front. Next, I'm going to bring in a bit of this Scampy White. And this is another really robust trailer, and so I know that it has the strength to compete with this Marguerite. Now, I'm going to show you this with one with the Rift Blue, and then I'll just substitute a white one on the other side. But I want to bring in, actually I'm going to scooch that back. I want to bring in the blue somewhere else in my arrangement. And what you're going to notice is this is a great example. The strength of blue in this lobelia is the same as the strength of blue in, or strength of raspberry in this geranium. So pretend this is another Rift Blue. I'm going to scoot that guy back just a little bit. And then last but not least, we are going to bring in this Silene on either side because I like that it adds a bright moment to break up all of this green. And so we are going to have this container practically smothered in beautiful trailing elements. So here we are, a stronger version of the previous arrangements. We still have the white, we still have the cool tone of the blue, but we're making it just a little bit stronger. This, because of that blue, it reads as just a touch more playful. Friends, thank you so much for coming along on this journey, taking a singular color story from the deepest of shade to the sunniest of conditions. Go say hello to your garden for me, and I'm going to see you in the next one.